there, and welcome back to Mind Body Relationship, where we talk about the mind, the body, and the relationship. Hi there, my name is Emerald Hill, and this is Dr. Laurie Ponsford-Hill.
Well, hello, Emerald. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really good. How are you doing today?
Good. And how do you find that you're managing in regards to the COVID-19?
I find 9 times out of 10 I'm doing really well, but then when I hit the kind of like 10 mark, I'm always just like feel the frustration come in.
It's so true, isn't it? Yeah. So we've been dealing with the COVID-19 for a fair period of time now.
Yeah, over a year now.
And it sounds like it's going to continue for a period of time still. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. And Jennifer, one of our students, one of our interns, has actually really put together some information in regards to COVID-19.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about Jennifer is that when it is that she started her practicum experience, she had a plan. And the plan was that she had her children taken care of, right, which gave her the opportunity to concentrate on the counseling experience, and all of that went by the wayside because it became about, of course, teaching your own children at home, right? So that the kids were at home. All of a sudden, her husband was at home. Everything changed in regards to that. Can't bring anybody else into the home, right? So everything had to be restructured, and Jennifer became our closeted therapist. Yeah, that was the quietest room in the entire house. Right? And so she gets to just shut the door and concentrate on counseling clients from the closet. So take it away, Jennifer.
As the COVID-19 pandemic drags on a global level, it is increasingly evident that it's taking a significant toll on the mental health of many people. So the fear of getting sick is magnified by the lasting toll of loneliness, economic stress, and complicated challenges to the mental health and general well-being of so many impacted in individual ways. Unfamiliar and frightening public health initiatives such as quarantine and shutdowns may lead to increased confusion, stress, frustrations, and fear. This is something that so many of us can relate to right now. A public health emergency on this scale can affect the health and safety of both individuals, families, and communities impacted by economic loss, work and school closures, inadequate resources, reduced trust, and deficient distribution of necessities. The effects can translate into a range of emotional reactions, relationship difficulties, unhealthy behaviors, rejection of emergency directives, and more. Canadian psychology researchers have learned of some of these specific impacts through almost 60 different studies. Among university students, for example, the pandemic has increased symptoms of isolation, depression, and stress. People who have had employment instability, children at home, elderly parents, and heightened risks of COVID-19 complications report even higher levels of stress, anxiety, and depression. Not surprisingly, those who work in healthcare or primary care positions report the very highest level of mental health impact. A recent survey showed that 8.1 million Canadians aged 15 or older provide care to a family member during the year preceding the survey, even more during the year of 2020. While individuals from various demographics take on this role, voluntary caregivers are more often women, up to 75%, and many belong to the expanding sandwich generation. Canada's aging demographic, with its likely increases in rates of dementia and chronic illness, suggests that these numbers will increase considerably as time goes on. The role of caregiver can be a fulfilling experience. There are, however, challenges associated with keeping up with this role for long periods of time while maintaining everyday activities. These individuals often need to balance their role as caregiver and their family's needs, or caregiving and paid employment. Many find themselves in situations where they lack the resources or skills to cope with varying caregiving demands. Health and care providers are also particularly vulnerable to emotional distress in the current pandemic, given their risk of exposure to the virus, concern about infecting and caring for their loved ones, shortages of personal protective equipment, and long hours. A recent review revealed numerous emotional outcomes, including stress, depression, irritability, insomnia, fear, confusion, anger, and frustration, some of which persisted after the quarantine was lifted, but there are still reports of lingering psychological pathology. As for healthcare providers themselves, extended workloads and other emerging concerns are sources of stress and have the potential to overwhelm both the system and the individual. Self-care for any care provider, including mental health, involves being informed about the illnesses and risks, monitoring one's own stress reactions, establishing balance, and seeking appropriate assistance with personal and professional responsibilities and concerns. The need to alter job roles and assignments and schedules, modifying expectations, and creating mechanisms to offer social support as well do not always align with the available options. While many supports have moved online now to allow increased virtual care, the stretched individual may not be aware of advancing options. Research in disaster-related mental health illustrates that after wide-scale disasters of varying natures are over, there is an increase in post-traumatic stress symptoms and mental health challenges among the vulnerable populations. However, there is an increase in collective resiliency as well. Those who can discover new strengths are often able to do so with increased protective factors. Over 40 studies examining factors that impact mental health show that people with higher levels of emotional stability, self-control, and positive coping styles under stress were less likely to experience psychological distress due to the pandemic. Individuals with higher level of locus control, for example, the belief that they have control over their circumstances, were also less likely to experience psychological distress. Being intentional about their perspectives and practicing self-care through the beneficial mental health exercises may contribute to increased resiliency and reduced incidence of stress in vulnerable populations, especially those in caregiver roles. To date, we do lack evidence about effective COVID-19 interventions that can improve mental health outcomes, but 2 small studies have demonstrated some promising outcomes. One found muscle relaxation exercise helped to reduce anxiety among a small number of hospitalized COVID-19 patients, and another found that individuals who received psychologically affirming texts showed improvements in their well-being. Mindfulness and meditation can serve to fill these potential protective practices. Where self-help and virtual support applications are becoming increasingly prevalent, mindfulness and meditation have been no exception. The challenge may lie in deciphering which apps are worth the investment. O Magazine has put together a comprehensive review of the top apps this year to help narrow down the top contenders. So Calm is the first one that we're going to talk about. Just as the name of this meditation suggests, Calm is a portal to peace of mind, joining over 50 million users who have accepted their invitation to daily calm. You can also choose to locate a meditation more specific to soothing what you have going on: anxiety, stress, a desire to break bad habits, and more. You can find walking meditations, body scans, master classes, and sleep stories. This one is $70 annually and can come with a free trial. Most of these come with a free trial. Headspace is another really popular one. The Headspace team have branded this the gym membership for your mind. Complete with enticing graphics, there are guided courses and quick meditations. They believe the mind is a muscle that requires as much attention as the abs. When you aren't practicing silencing rapid thoughts, there is a sleep music application with soundscapes to help when insomnia strikes. This one is $13 a month. Aura is for the first-time hustlers who do not believe they have time in their day to practice meditation. Aura serves to time crunch with 3-minute sessions and 30-second anxiety busters, designed to quickly save you from intensive life and the chronically busy. This one is $12 a month. Smiling Mind is another popular one. This free meditation app was developed by psychologists and educators and offers a wide variety of programs for all ages. Particularly for those who feel anxious about the effects of COVID-19, there is an app solution for the whole family. 10% Happier. Here's your I suck at meditation idea and gives you an app for the fidgety skeptic. This is an offshoot of the New York Times bestselling book by the same name. This app, which is great for beginners, connects you directly to expert teachers who can coach you through the basics of meditation. They even can respond to your queries, usually within a day. The point of this app is chaos may happen, but with a little help from its gratitude, joy, and love meditations, you can become just a little bit happier. This one is $100 annually. Inscape is a meditation studio in New York City with sound and smellscapes designed to instantly transport its members to tranquility, as they say. For the app, just has the same effect without the drive. It offers the usual suspects: guided meditations, custom sleep sessions, stress reducers, and the like. But where Inscape sets itself apart is with playlists, categorized by life's moments, Tinder troubles, overcoming your fears, study chill. There's something for everyone. This one is $10 a month. Insight Timer. It's easy to find a meditation app that touts a free trial, but it's a lot harder to find a quality meditation app that is entirely free. Enter the unicorn of meditation apps. Insight Timer is a multifaceted gateway to more than 30,000 guided sessions that tap into every emotion rattling your nerves. It also offers relaxing music tracks, a section for kids, and therapeutic pep talks. Stop, Think and Breathe. Though many meditation apps require your credit card number before offering anything truly helpful, the Stop, Breathe, and Think app has a fairly robust slate of meditations completely free. Every time the app is opened, it invites you to check in with your feelings. You fill in a quick survey that leads you to the choice of meditations tailored to your needs on that particular day. You can access more than 20 activities for free, and premium memberships are only $10 a month. Bootify is a family fun app. It isn't saying you should quit your day job and move to Tibet, but it is saying that a little beautification to your everyday life can make a world of difference. This doesn't mean sitting still for half an hour unless you want to. It does have a selection of formal meditations if you're so inclined. But what sets the Bootify app apart is its focus on mobility and on-the-go meditation sessions. It's a great way to introduce meditation into daily circumstances, like during a work break while you're with a friend and when you can't sleep. Simple Habit. According to Simple Habit, all it takes is 5 minutes to achieve quietude. And through several of the meditation apps on this list, include quickie meditation sessions in their catalogs. This app, which dictates the bulk of its library to brief sessions, may be best for the busiest of bees, or you can practice it in bed. This one is $12. Bedtime Story, an adult bedtime story that is told by Matthew McConaughey. And if anybody is going to lull you to sleep, I think Matthew McConaughey is safe to be in the top 5. So that is one that we can play. So it was a younger client that I was working with that we had really come to kind of a standstill on how to help her in her pretty significant anxiety. And we were trying different things, like listening to music when she was going into distressing situations, and also just different things I was kind of pulling out of my head. And then when I realized more what we were kind of doing, it did fall into the mindfulness category. And so that's what kind of piqued my interest in it, and wanted to learn a little bit more about how to establish an actual formalized practice in doing it, because I really didn't know a lot about it at that point. And then the more I read, the more that I started incorporating into my own life as well. And then I could really share with clients who maybe didn't have the same extent of challenges as this inspirational client did. But I think that it really helps everybody. Everybody has a place for mindfulness and meditation in their lives. So we've been doing more and more as we've been working through this seminar too, and I've been learning more, incorporating guided meditations in our sessions and things like that. And everybody has had a really good response to it. And also I know for my own self-care and keeping kind of a crazy schedule right now, it's been really instrumental. And I only wish I knew more about it earlier. I think that it can be a fine line, right? Sometimes overuse or misuse of coping strategies sort of offer the same benefits of a mindfulness experience. Eating mindlessly, for example, anything that entices you to check out, scrolling any number of mindless sites, things like that, right, could also kind of constitute the idea of a mindfulness practice, but it's not really benefiting in the same way. So being really selective and intentional about how we're fulfilling the mindfulness practice, I think, is really important, right?
Yeah, so what we're talking about is really anxiety, I think, right? Because there's a lot of anxiety. Anxiety is actually really fear of the future.
For sure.
Because we don't really know what to expect, what's really going on, when is the end date, I mean, any of those kinds of things, right? And so the thing about anxiety is it sets up what's called our fight, flight, or freeze response.
Yeah.
right? So it's an age-old process. It's actually really meant to help us, right? So it goes like this. There's a tiger in the woods, and you're going to fight the tiger, run away from the tiger, or freeze and hope the tiger doesn't see you, right? So anytime when it is that there's a threat, and really when you think about it, COVID-19 is a threat.
It is,
right? Mm-hmm. So of course it makes sense that it would set up this response.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the unfortunate thing about this response is that it happens when you watch the news. And the time that we're in, not only do we get to sit down and watch the news at any time because it's all pre-recorded, but also it dings on your phone whenever it just happens. So you're constantly getting this threat response happening to you. So you're constantly dealing with, do I want to fight or flight or freeze? But it's information that, just sits there.
Mm-hmm. So true, right? And so the idea is to, the more that you know, the hope is it actually really calms the system.
Right.
But unfortunately, it can actually go the opposite way. The more that you know, the more afraid you become. Right? So we have, in regards to our systems, two systems. One is the parasympathetic, right? And the other is the sympathetic.
Right.
And the parasympathetic is your relaxation response.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then your sympathetic is that there needs to be some action going on there, right? Increased heart rate, need to get going, that sort of thing.
Something needs to get done.
Something needs to get done. Mm-hmm. So Emma, what is the difference between the COVID-19 that we've been experiencing for a fair period of time now and a predator such as a tiger in the woods?
Well, a tiger in the woods is like an immediate threat, something that you obviously use your brain to deal with in the moment. Am I going to fight right now? Am I going to freeze right now? Or am I going to run away right now? And unfortunately, COVID is a chronic threat, so it's constantly always happening. And as we just said, it's been a threat for over a year now. And the brain isn't actually supposed to deal with threats like that. It's supposed to be kind of more quick. And since it's been going on for so long, everyone is kind of overstressing their system and their nervous system that's supposed to protect them. And so right now, a lot of people are feeling a lot of anxiety and a lot of frustration and a lot of anger because the system that's supposed to deal with this is being overworked, but they can't do anything.
Kind of like a chronic anxiety response.
Exactly.
So part of anxiety has a tendency to also be what might happen in regards to getting in the way of a good sleep.
Right, for sure. If you ever laid awake at night thinking about all of these things that you have to do tomorrow, there's that anxious feeling in your chest that you just can't seem to put away for long enough to get to sleep.
Exactly. The sympathetic nervous system is activated. I need to do something, but it's time to sleep. But I need to do something. Heart rate going, right?
Yeah.
So one of the ways in which to be able to manage is actually really to do with guided imagery, meditation, that sort of thing, to calm the nervous system, to get into that parasympathetic response of actually really relaxing.
Yeah.
Now we have a number of meditations that you can connect with.
Yep, there's on our YouTube, which I'll link below, YouTube videos, which I'll link below, where you have a lot of meditations that are guided imagery to help you fall asleep or just to relax throughout the day, even if you feel that anxious feeling piling up.
And Jennifer actually really goes through a number of apps that might be of use to you. And has a special affinity for Matthew McConaughey. So what's really interesting, I find, is that you don't actually realize when it is that you are starting to tense. Right? And so what happens is that shoulders go up, right? You're starting to be in kind of self-protection mode, right? You might be clenching your fists, clenching your jaw, that sort of thing, and not even realizing that you're doing so until it is that you have some sort of muscle response. Right? And so it's really important just to be able to recognize the difference between when it is I'm tight and when it is I'm relaxed. right? So it's really good to actually really practice that, right? To sort of tense yourself up, bring your shoulders right up to your ears so that you can feel that feeling. But then also to relax that so that you can feel the difference between the two.
Right.
And especially at night when it is that you're laying there and you're finding yourself not sleeping, really good to pay attention to, am I actually really tense? And if I relax myself, have a much more relaxed body. So I remember the movie Die Hard,
Okay.
right? Where he's on the plane and the fellow says, great way to manage anxiety when you get where you're going is just to make balls with your toes. Do you remember that?
I do, yeah.
Aha, right? Just take your toes, ball them up into the carpet, which is basically the exact same thing, right? Tightening, tensing, and then relaxing, right? Tightening, tensing, and then relaxing. Just allowing your body to do the relaxation response.
Yeah. So another thing is the news consumption that you have throughout the day. A lot of people come home, watch the news, and then, throughout the day they also have dings on their phone. They get reminded of the news every day. I know for me, every single day I get breaking news, COVID, da-da-da. And it's actually really not breaking news anymore. It's been around for a while.
There you go. Here are the numbers.
Yeah, here are the numbers. And so a really great technique to manage your anxiety is to limit your news intake. A lot of the time when we stress ourselves, we lose sleep and sometimes we stay awake thinking about it. We need time to process the information that we got so that we can relax into it, into the knowing of what that information is. So a really good technique is to either watch the news 2 hours before bed so that you have some time to process what you've learned, or to set up days in the week that you are allowed to look at the news or go into research about what's happening into the world so that you can give your nervous system a bit of a break.
Or sometimes just not to watch the news at all.
Yeah,
Right.
I know that at the beginning we were diligent in watching the news.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And then I think it was a month that went by and we finally kind of made a pact. We were like, we're not watching the news anymore.
No. I mean, at first it was actually really kind of very exciting, right? In regards to watching it, like what was happening, right? It was crazy, really.
Yeah.
But then at a certain point, it actually became depressing.
It was exhausting, yeah.
It crossed the threshold.
It really did.
So, and that kind of brings us to locus of control.
Yeah.
Right? Because when you have an internal locus of control, the truth of the matter is that you feel like you have some control.
Yeah.
Right? So then the question is, well, what can I control?
Yeah.
Right? And so when it is that you have a feeling of an internal sense of control, I mean, you have options, you have choices, right? You have ways in which you can do things or not do things.
Yeah.
But when it is you have an external locus of control, it means everything outside of you is actually really in charge. And you have no way to do anything, to make decisions, right? To be in charge of yourself or in control of whatever it is the outcome is.
And we've all met those kinds of people where, they'll say something like, oh, I get really anxious when I watch the news. And then you say, well, stop watching the news. And then it's like they can't comprehend not going through the routine that they've been set up to go through. When it's like, well, I can't change my routine. It's a routine that's been set for me. Well, the truth is, like, you can change your behavior. It's just like a concept that's a little too hard to grasp sometimes, I think.
Yeah, that's so true, right? I mean, you use the example in regards to doing a test and not doing well, right? An internal locus of control would be, wow, I didn't study long enough or hard enough or the right material.
Yeah.
An external locus of control would be the teacher did set it up badly or didn't concentrate on the areas which they told us to, or that sort of thing.
Yeah, and it's even on the flip side, like when you get a good mark, an internal locus of control would be, I did study enough, I did do well enough. But for people who have an external locus of control, it's the teacher didn't make it hard enough, or in a way that they don't get the credit for it in some way. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So very much like with the news, right? It's like at a certain point, it felt like we still had an internal locus of control, right? We still had a way in which to take care of ourselves, even when it is that the numbers were increasing and strange things were happening. But at a certain point, it crossed the path over to, wow, this is outside of our control.
Yeah.
This is something that's happening worldwide, right? There isn't anything actually really we can do about that, right? So we have to only concentrate on what it is that we can concentrate on, right?
Yeah.
And in that case, was actually really turning off the news for a period of time.
So a really great method to be able to remove anxiety is to crowd out anxiety. So you're filled with anxious thoughts, and what you can do is, move your brain to something else. So either pick up a hobby or pick up several hobbies, something that's not something that has a lot of weight to it, like you're not being graded, or you're not actually really trying to improve your skills on it, but it's something that you can do for yourself that has no pressure to it, so that you can enjoy it. It takes your mind off of it, off of your anxiety, but something that you can maintain doing throughout COVID.
Yes, I think that's really important because we all need a way in which to relax and relax our minds, right? And for some people, that's like knitting. It's kind of like a mindless activity in a way, right? You can just sort of like put your mind on autopilot, and do, right? So you're actually really doing something. You're relaxing your body, right? Somebody else told me that they found that puzzle making was a fantastic sort of therapeutic activity, where you're not concentrating on anything other than finding the correct piece to go in the next section of the puzzle.
Yeah, and it's kind of a fun thing that you can do. You can do it either by yourself or you can do it with your family. Exactly,
yes. And that brings us to social relationships. Yeah, we are social beings. We are meant to be in relationship, right? Self, others, and the world. And the difficulty with what it is that we're going through is that we keep hearing social distancing, right?
Yeah, and it can be a little discouraging when you're feeling lonely, but the whole point to protect yourself is to social distance. And so what you really have to tell yourself is, I need to physical distance myself. But to make sure that you're able to connect with people. And there are many ways that you can do that. You can, buy an app that, you can talk to people, or you can just go on Facebook, or really you can go on a dating website just for the sake of human interaction in a way.
Exactly. Yeah, so it is really good to stay in contact with people and not to be isolated.
It's actually interesting when you think of social interaction. For so many of us, it comes naturally, but since this is such an unnatural situation, people forget that you can actually forget how to interact with people. And it doesn't matter if you are already kind of socially awkward. Even the most outgoing people, if they lose practice, they won't be as good as being outgoing and charming when they actually get to be back into a group setting. So it's really important to make sure that you're able to stay in contact with somebody so that you can practice your social interactions. So when all this is over, when you have the opportunity to go out and talk to people, you don't realize, I haven't spoken to someone in months, and then you have even more anxiety that goes with that, because all of a sudden you're doing something that you haven't done for a really long time.
Yeah, I think that's really important, right? And you can practice just by talking to yourself.
Yeah.
Or by talking to a pet.
Yeah.
Right? Or just like when it is that you think about that movie, what was his name? He made a basketball his friend.
Oh, Castaway.
Castaway, right? So he created a little, basically,
Wilson.
A little Wilson.
Wilson.
That's right, exactly. Carried around, talked, right? Kept in himself interacting
Yeah.
with the basketball. And what was really important, I think, about that, right?
Yeah.
That was what appeared to be hopeless situation.
Yeah.
But the truth is, he kept his hope up.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what's really, really significant also too, right? Isolated and alone, but created relationship and actually kept himself focused on the fact that he was going to survive.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that is a really great movie to remind ourselves how important social interaction is, because when you're watching the movie, you're there too saying, Wilson! Oh no, Wilson's gone! And it's a basketball with some pineapple things coming out of it. But you're sitting there along with them, you're like, Wilson! Jump off your raft and save Wilson! It's so funny. Oh my God. So something that is really difficult when you don't have to go to work and you don't have to get up at a specific time is keeping a schedule. And so a really great way to keep yourself motivated to get out of bed in the morning is to have your schedule that you must follow. Get out of bed, have breakfast, shower, exercise maybe. And a really great way to do all of those fundamental things is to actually get a dog.
Yeah, I mean, I think having a pet is really, really important, and because they like to interact with you, right?
Yeah.
And they want that interaction, so they come and get you for that interaction.
Yeah, they really do give you a sense of purpose,
That's so true, right? Maintaining a sense of purpose is really, really important.
Yeah.
And the only one who can do that is you with your internal locus of control, right? So really important. Schedule your day, right? So it feels like you're doing something. It's about something, right? And the truth of the matter is, eventually, this is going to transition too, right? Yeah.
And like I said at the beginning, 9 times out of 10, I think I am handling it pretty well. But there's always that one day where I'm just missing that one piece, where I'm thinking about how frustrated I am about this whole thing. And a really great thing to say to yourself is, when you're feeling like you're not doing something or you can't do something, you can say, I am doing something. I am staying home. I am protecting other people. I am protecting myself.
So true, so true.
Yeah.
I think of Anne Frank, right? Her and her family locked in an attic for 2 years,
Yeah.
right?
They didn't have internet.
They didn't have internet. They didn't have TV. They didn't have a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And so when the fear, and I think it's the same chronic anxiety for them, of course, if they're just discovered, then they would be killed.
Yeah.
Right, which is, a little bit more of upping the ante from the COVID-19, I think.
Yeah.
But she kept herself occupied by writing, right? And so documenting the experience,
Yeah.
right? So I think it's good just to recognize we historically have been in this place before.
Yeah.
It might look a little bit different, but the truth is that people have survived it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And we have a lot better, we're a lot better off than a lot of people in history, the Black Plague. While they didn't have respirators and all of these wonderful things to keep people okay,
That's true. They didn't have antibiotics. They didn't have a lot, right?
Yeah, everything was horrible. A toothache could kill you.
That's true. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So good to count your blessings, right? And that it also too is something to do,
Yeah.
right? And so that it overcomes that sense of hopelessness. And the truth is, there is hope.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Laurie and Jennifer, for having this interesting discussion with me about mindfulness and anxiety and dealing with COVID-19 on an internal locus mind field. And thank you for tuning in. Have a great day and stay mindful.
All right. Bye for now.